welcome back. Week 3 second video. Today I wanted to focus on what is considered unethical behavior in a business. Let us address these 4 questions to see if you have that ethical side in you as a person. So the first question is my decision a truthful one? There are a couple of things that you need to address there while making that judgment. First of all, you have to make sure that all the facts and aspects that are presented to you are the truthful and they're right in the mind of the management team before they come up with the decision. So you really have to think whether the outcome of your decision really follows up what is presented to you and that follows the line of the truth that is the outcome of your decision, as well, of course, looking back into the ethical side of the same thing. The second one is my decision fair for everyone affected? Well, when we're looking at that word everyone, we're really taking in consideration the internal and external parties that have a direct or indirect interest in your organization. So we're going to be looking from our employees' point of view, our management point of view, from our senior management point of view, and of course from the external point of view, looking into the shareholders and stakeholders. They have a vast interest in your business operation. So you will take into consideration each and every party involved in your decision process and base your decision on ethical principle that covers those party involved. Now, will my decision be build a goodwill for the organization? Again, with this particular case and this particular question, we have to take in consideration our internal and external parties. But external side goes even further than with the previous question. Of course, with internal ones, we take on consideration the trust that we're building up within our organization and our workforce, management team, HR, and senior management. When we're talking about the external part of our organization, we're taking things such as, for example, the shareholders and stakeholders, as well as we have to take in consideration for all those companies that have direct or indirect interest in our organization, like media companies, like exchange market and so forth. All the things that will be brought into consideration assessing the organizational ethical side in decision-making process. That can have a fundamental and long-lasting interest on and effect on interest in our shares and value of those same ones. And the fourth one is decision beneficial for all the parties who have vast interest in our organization. Now, again, we are applying the concept of internal and external organizations and shareholders. And then, of course, we have to take the aspect that regardless of the outcomes, those shareholders and stakeholders need to be well informed, well kept in the loop of what are the decisions that the organization making and what those decisions might represent in the future part of our business. Let us quickly have a look at the 3 models of management business ethics. Well, knowing them and being able to distinguish between them will say a lot about your morals. Now, immoral management is very simplistic in explanation. It's basically you are ignoring ethical guidance. So you're aware that there are ethical principles or morals set up within your organization, and you simply choose to ignore them. You go with your own decisions, completely isolating any rules set up within an organization. Moral management, on the other hand, is opposite of immoral one, where with the moral one you take all those considerations in all those ethical aspects into consideration before you make your business decision. And the last one is amoral management. Now, with amoral management is basically something that fits between the 2 previous ones previously mentioned. Now, in this particular case, you are caught breaking unethical rules. Well, That itself could be intentional or unintentional, and the jury will be out to decide whether you knew about certain rules, whether you knew about certain aspects that your organization follows and principles that organization puts in place. And then, of course, the decision will be made on the severity of the punishment that you are subjected to. Let us quickly have a look on the things that are affecting organizational ethics, all the things that might offset what organization is trying to achieve within an organization and its employees. So, main one would be our corporate culture. Now, what is important that the organization aim to set up the organizational culture, corporate culture, that it's very transparent to everyone to see. But what they don't understand very often is that sometimes there could be a couple of those corporate cultures within an organization. That is more than evident when organization is global. They have multiple production sites, multiple research and development sites, where we see that corporate culture varies from one to another. Now, when we talk about existence and application of written code of ethics, basically those code of ethics are often published for everyone to see. What do they normally do for the organization? Well, normally the large organizations are the ones that publishing those code of conducts and a code of ethics, and at the same time, predominantly they work for building a trust in what the organization stands for, and of course entice the external investors to invest into the shares of the organization and interest of the organization. Some of those rules are formal or informal, so they have to be reviewed fairly often, as the post of ethical considerations is often moved from year to year, from decade to decade, and what we believe that certain things were ethical some 5 to 10 years ago might be considered unethical at this point in time. Now, at the same time, what we do need to understand that the norm of acceptable behavior would be very, very important. That is also part of the training program that organization put in place in order to make sure that all of their employees, senior management, are aware of what is deemed as the appropriate behavior. Now, aspect of financial reward also plays important role in affecting organizational behavior. What is important is that there is no favoritism. What we do know that there are differences from culture to culture. For example, in China, which follows a collective reward, as opposed to in Western society, when we're looking more into the individual reward system taking place. So that has to be fairly nicely spelled out and written in the code of ethics within an organization. Hiring practices are also important, and they can severely affect the organizational ethics. There should be no favoritism. So best candidate should be the one hired for the role that organization is looking to fulfill. And of course, findings from the interview should be made public, and all the employees should be aware of the procedures that took place in hiring the particular person. Now, code of ethics for promotion also needs to be clearly stated, and promotion itself can offset and affect the organizational ethics. In that particular case, probably the best way to deal with that particular concept is to involve your workers, your senior management, everyone within an organization, in order to contribute in writing down a promotional code of ethics and introduce their own views. In the long term, it will benefit organizational greatly. Behavior and attitude of organization leaders. We've seen time and time the leaders of organization behaving silly, as to say, in a public domain, and very quickly they bring a negative perception toward the organization, and organization very often, if not, find themselves in hot water where the public relation officer is needed to correct certain actions and justify those ones seen in the media. That itself can actually push the post of the organizational ethics. And of course, one of the last one, organization decision-making process. It's extremely important to say that organization needs to very clearly define those processes, possibly even write them down so the organization, employees, organization management, senior management are given those on a regular basis, so they can there is no excuse for them not being familiar with some of those procedures. Let us go down to the core of the problem. Try to understand why these unethical decisions are made in the first place. There are a couple of common excuses that we hear from senior management when these unethical decisions do occur. Doing it easy things versus doing the right things, so doing it easy way rather than a hard way. Well, often the common denominative to this particular excuse is time, and time is equal money. So some of the senior management will try to find the easy way to complete a certain task on hand, regardless of the consequences and the outcomes that those particular actions might produce. Cheating because we won't get caught. Oh, we've heard this so many times. I'll just do it once and never again. But it becomes sweet once it's done once and you not ever got caught. Now, that itself, it's not a valid excuse to making unethical decisions. Just because you were lucky once and you did it once and you didn't get caught, it doesn't mean that you didn't bring into jeopardy a lot of people involved in that business decision. So don't even think along those lines. It's just not worth. This is how we deal with the pressure. Well, I mentioned with the previous point the concept of time, and time builds that pressure. And of course, when we don't have a lot of time, we cut the corners and make the things a little bit shorter. And of course, again, we don't think about the consequences. Well, time management is the one that defines great managers. And when they are conquering the time in the right way, they don't feel a pressure. They are not pushed in the corner to make those business decisions that are deemed as unethical one. I will only do it once. Well, I mentioned it already before, and I will never get caught. Would be the one that covers the same particular aspect, but itself does not justify the outcome of your business decision, even though it might be favorable to the organization. Simply don't do it. At the same time, we also are driven by the profit. Each organization must make a profit in order to survive in a short and a long run. But winning is equal profit. Profit, our sustainability and presence in the market for long haul. But with the excuse nobody likes to lose, doesn't simply justify your unethical decision making. Now, as Professor Henry Adams says, morality is private and costly luxury. Keep in mind that itself, morals will make things that you do a little bit more costly for the organization, but also for yourself. But it makes you sleep nice and peacefully. Now, also, I know it's wrong, but reality is trying to find the justification itself never covers the unethical decision making. You're simply sinking into what we often call in the business world, in the hospitality industry, a live sand. More you say, more words you use, more justification you reach out for in order to justify your unethical decision will basically just get you in more trouble, and it will tarnish the reputation that your organization built over time. Let us take a look at a couple of unethical business practices. Corruption being one of them. Use of the public office for a private gain, or simply your status within an organization or economy, and in order to achieve a personal gain. Now, we've seen time and time senior management and officials, organizational leaders go to these kind of situations where they're accused of corruption. It could be simply through the concept of sharing this information, sharing the inside information about the organization itself that will benefit them in a long run. Often happens in regards to shares of the organization and inside information that subsequently benefits them to a great deal because of the financial gain. Another one often mentioned is bribery. And what is a bribery? An offer of the receipt of gift, money, some fees, reward, or any other form of incentive given to the senior management, which does not get to be declared. So basically, it is illegal, and of course, it breaches the code of conduct of the organization. Until next video, guys, take care, stay safe.